Okay, let's see. Looks like it's starting to connect. I'm gonna stop. Okay, so looks like we're live. Welcome everyone. Let's get started. There we go. Now we got you a beautiful screen. Okay, so welcome everyone. Akasha here, Nan Akasha from nanakasha.com. Welcome to the Infinite Show and welcome to the 2022 guidance series. All the different ways that you can look at the energies this year and find your path, navigate your way, stay true to yourself, keep awakening, and make it through the hot mess that's going on all around us without it taking you off your track. So today we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friend of mine who I have on my show a lot because she's just got such wonderful energy. She's so beautiful inside and out. And she has some really great wisdom for you to share. So all of these shows are available for you to listen to whenever you want on the YouTube channel. And if you're watching here right below, you can find all of Raquel's information. And make sure that you share this. We want this information to get to as many people as possible. So this week, we're also going to have Amy Lundberg talking about releasing burnout and depletion and doing some healing work for us. And Joan of the Angels is going to share her angel cards and calling us to awaken. But we're going to play with the angels. And I'm going to wrap this series up with how to connect to your future self, how to connect like the shamans do to their destiny, to that future you, that potential you forward, so you stop creating from the past, because this is a time to unify with yourself. So there's Amy coming and Joan and Donna Marie, and I don't know where you were, but you didn't seem to be there. Okay, so you'll see Raquel in a second. So she is a spiritualized business coach and founder of the VIP Business Initiation, and she helps visionary business women step into their unique mastery and operate from their unique design. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is what I call your spiritual blueprint is a design that you have. And when you align with that and you start to understand that, things flow in a much different way. So she uses the system of human design and law of attraction to dive deep into her clients' genetic inner blueprint and help you to discover your life purpose. And what I love too is it's, yes, we want to make money. Yes, maybe you have a business, maybe you don't. However, that inner part is, it's not really just about making the money, right? It's about getting inspired, getting on your mystical journey, being the heroine or the hero of your own life, and going through that magic and getting out of overworking and getting out of these misguided careers. Oh, I have to do this because it's what I'm good at or what my mom wanted and all that stuff. So we really want to live our life of our dreams. Raquel was on Spiritual Business Magazine and on TV with Tyra Banks and The View, and has interviewed Marianne Williamson and other thought leaders and all kinds of really yummy stuff. I think I have a little more right here. And creative coaching certification and the 4 radical transformation certification programs. So what I love is she advises conscious beings on their own inner DNA code that gives them superpowers beyond imagination to fully awaken to their unique inner brilliance and transform your lives, your relationship, your businesses. So she uses this, I love this, law of attraction, mindset techniques, spiritual psychology, shamanic principles, grounded business tools. And I know Raquel for a little while, I know she's been through her own ups and downs, and she's got incredible wisdom. She's truly, truly a wise woman. So thank you so much for joining me again, my dear.
Thank you. I always just love connecting with you and being with you and watching you and celebrating time with you, and have always been just so inspired by you. So thank you. I'm very excited just to spend this time with you and share with everybody.
Yes, it's so fun. We get to play from the other opposite ends. I'm over here and you're over there. And
amazing.
we get to play right together. So let's talk a little bit about the ideas that you play with, because one of the things I really love about your work, and you've gone deeper and deeper and deeper into your work on who am I? Who's each of my clients? And how can they be more and more themselves and stop chasing or getting stuck in patterns that are outside of them? And of course, right now, with the big breakdown, lots of people are getting confused about what to do, how to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So this body of knowledge called human design, I got very, very obsessed with because it was the radical piece to my missing puzzle in my life and just my own spiritual growth and my career, everything. It just really assisted me in awakening my career and being true to who I was in ways that I just couldn't get with any other knowledge. And so when you start going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, there's so many layers, there's so much depth to it. And you start discovering how you can tap into your genetic blueprint and surrender to the truth of who you are. And it also has this incredible mapping of what happens astrologically and what happens to us as a collective. So we have what's known as a global epoch, which would be sort of the aura for all of humanity. And that is what is an incredibly interesting study right now with human design, because the founder of human design always said that this knowledge was brought forward. He had like this crazy download in 1987, and he said that it was for this time. 2027 is the actual year where the shift is happening, the grid is shifting, and the aura mechanics, or the global epoch, is changing. And it's a 411-year cycle. So what that means is the last 411 years, all of humanity, the aura, was operating under this certain field that kind of held everything together. And, that was sort of these things like logic, like logic was a collective, relied upon energy field that we all agreed was something we could use to sort through what's going on as being a human, right? So, I mean, it's so a part of our last 411 years that you almost can't believe that that's going to start breaking down.
Yeah.
Because we've just relied on logic so much, and we can't even imagine that there's other ways to be. There's other ways to know what's going on. And so basically this knowledge, it breaks down what's happening right now, and it breaks down how you personally can be in the center regardless of the breakdown that's going on around you. And there's going to be a lot of breakdown.
Yeah, we're in it.
Yeah.
But we're not through it. Yeah, definitely. I know, and that's a conversation that I think people are beginning to get, that you don't ask, when's it going back to the way it was? Because you don't want it to, and it's not going to. And so the uncertainty in the middle and the fear of the breakdown, but we want to be present, right? We want to use this to an opportunity to look deeper inside of ourselves to say, how can I be more? I'm a projector, you're a projector in your system. How can I align with that more? What puts me into my flow and get out of everybody else's story?
Yeah, exactly. And so that is the first piece, is what is your type, and then kind of sorting through how to navigate the difference, so the uniqueness that each person has, and then understanding how to work together and understanding who is supposed to play what part to what piece of the puzzle. And so that's really fascinating, because we're all different, and that real cookie cutter model, that's already breaking down. Yeah. But I think that is going to be breaking down even more. And so the process, so the changing of the wheel, 411-year cycle, starts 2027. But with human design, there's 7-year cycles. So the 7 years is really when things began to prepare us for the breakdown, right? So that's 2020.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So right now what we're seeing is the ending of the old cycle. And I wouldn't even say it's the beginning of the new yet. It's just the breaking down of the old.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, the systems, the main two systems that are going to be breaking down are the collective logic and the tribal dynamic. So anything tribal, which would be any type of, there's so many things that are tribal, it's almost unbelievable that, that it's going to break down. I mean, we're already seeing it. Like we're already seeing it, right? So tribal would be like religious structures, religious organizations, families, family structures, like, how we relied upon the classic family dynamic of, husband, wife, married, kids. You have the 401k, live in the, the same house, and all of that system is breaking down.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's radical. So we have those two systems that are, so you're starting to see like the mistrust of all of these organizations, which would include, universities even.
Yeah, seeing through the schooling systems on all levels, as being little factories that take away your creativity and just say, learn this, memorize that, go be what we want you to be a cog in the wheel or in the matrix, so to speak. I do think, and I'm really excited to be here right now. I can't say that it's fun, like, some of the things that are happening, but I know the opportunity. And breakdown is the same thing as a breakthrough, and you can't have this new thing without that breakdown. But my kids are just turned 25, and they have a very different outlook on life. They don't have, my one daughter didn't have a car. They're not sure they want kids. They keep changing their mind about who they, it's very interesting. And of course, the whole pandemic changed. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to go? Like what happens? And so there's a lot of that complete disconnection from what I know I was raised with, most of us were raised with, is go do this.
Exactly. Yeah. And, the kids are questioning also their sexuality. That's a big one too, is like, do I want to have a traditional type marriage? Or, I mean, all of the things that the kids are doing with sexuality, that's all seen like in the human design grid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that to me is so fascinating. And it's, questioning what are our value systems as well. What is the value system? And we relied upon, over the last 400 years, we also relied upon this idea that skills were the most important aspect that you could rest your hat on, so it was the most successful artist, the most successful basketball player, like the most successful actor, like we actually revere our actors as like royalty in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very odd thing to revere. It's a skill.
Yeah.
And so I think that's already breaking down because of how many people have been charged, like their skills, their power, couldn't hide them anymore, with things like whatever, Harvey Weinstein and the R. Kelly and, these people who were hid behind their talent and their skill and their success for so long. And everyone just let them get away with it. All of their inner circles, just let them kind of get away with it. And so in human design, what it's saying is like, that is not going to be the value system anymore.
Yay.
Right? So that's pretty exciting. But it's also, shocking, right?
It is. Well, it's so funny. I remember when people had to stay home and then they started working from home and then they did that with school. And then at least here in Mexico where I live, they gave the parents a choice once they open the schools. You can send your kid or you don't have to. So they provide virtual and in person. And they have, at least here where I live, they have about a quarter of the kids attending live. That's it. And a lot
Wow.
of the parents are like, no, I want them home with me. And they have the freedom of being with them more or doing different things. And it's a very different way of, I know that we see, but, oh, they need social interaction or certain things that we think are missing. However, this new paradigm has so much more potential for individual expression.
That's it. And that's exactly what we're heading into. It's called the era of the individual. And instead of, right? So instead of, the tribal systems and, this is what you should do, this is how we do things, you do it this way. Instead of the tribal system, it's the individual expression. It's the, finding value not on skill, but on individual personal development. What have you cultivated within yourself? What type of inner work have you done? What are you standing on? What are your values? What is your self-expression? All of these things are literally the aura mechanics that we are moving into. So what that means is that everyone is going to have to know who they are. Everyone is going to have to know their uniqueness. Everyone is going to have to understand how the other big piece to this is where people abdicate their power, right?
Yeah,
So where
yeah.
are you abdicating your power? And so we see that a lot here, like, oh, the government's going to do this or get us through, or only if this person was in charge or that person was in charge. So we abdicate our personal power to an authority figure. And that you are not going to be able to rely on that for anything. And so that means so many things, right? Because think of all of the ways we do that with our health, with our doctors, with our, how we make a decision. We base it sometimes on our parents or what our families tell us to do, or people go out and they search for psychics or the guru, right? Or whoever your teacher is. Like, we are not even taught to look inside and make decisions based on your own truth. Like, that's never the discussion. And so anybody who's putting their decision making outside of themselves are going to struggle and suffer.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think I agreed with you. Get that shit out. Pew. Well, I love that because I'm all about individuality. And I was very curious about the age of Aquarius being we are all one, this whole concept of thinking of the greater good of all people and technology and all those other aspects. But the idea has that dark side, right? That manipulation of you should do it. You have to do like everyone else, get your shot or do this or do that or do whatever it is. And we're seeing it restrictions, all of these shutdowns. And to me, it reminds me of grasping, somebody losing their footing and grasping. I heard last night, I don't watch the news, but Chris told me that, I don't know why, Facebook lost like a third of their people who go there and more than that of their value. And I thought, wow, there's a really big shift, in breaking down that system.
Wow. I didn't even know that. But it makes sense because, and I'm glad it's happening, even though I love Facebook, but I
Yeah,
know
I know.
I shouldn't like it, it's just one of those things. Like, I know I shouldn't love it, but I have so many amazing people that I've connected with there, and spread, higher frequency there. But at the same time, they've done an abuse of power. They abused the monopoly. They abused all of our privacy.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, people are really starting to wake up, and it took a while because, like, we didn't understand what was happening with social media or even the internet. I mean, even all that was going on in the internet. I mean, it's really not been that long. I mean, I remember my first time on Facebook, like it wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
and so it's happening very quickly, and people are getting, and that's it, the pressure to kind of wake up to what's going on. And I think people are going to have to get very savvy with this, because this is the tech stuff is just the beginning. I mean, this is really just the beginning of where they're going with everything. And so it's going to be confusing. It's going to be confusing for people around what to trust, around what truth is, where to get truth, if there is any truth. And the truth, I think, is always going to be kind of a moving target. But the biggest difference is that there's not going to be a relied upon relied upon narrative and idea of what reality is. Like that's going away. And it's always been there. Like we've always had different realities, and there's always been mystics, there's always been awakened teachers who have lived in a different reality, and it's always been there. But now the aura mechanics are breaking apart so that no one's going to have anything to rely on, which to me is really exciting. But like you said, it's also going to be very, very intense and very scary for many people who are used to logic, who have relied upon it, who like to know what's going on. Oh, this is the world we live in. And we know that, E equals MC squared, like everything is going to be up for grabs, how everything works and where we came from. And all of these dynamics are going to be questioned. What the aliens, like what's happening with that? Who's, how long have humans been here? Like everything is going to be up for grabs. And I think without knowing that there's a truth, somehow you have to find something within yourself that you can rely on.
Yeah. And that inner foundation, it's funny, one of the sessions I did this week or last week, I guess, was about that, energetically finding the blocks or clearing or finding the things within that person. And then there was an actual grounding, but not the way we used to do it. It was like floating and grounding at the same time, like being free and being grounded in that, not, planted and stuck in one spot. And, one of the things is the idea that we've heard that pain is going to happen, but suffering is a choice. Right? So when we hang on and we struggle and we want things to be a certain way, or we're waiting for it to happen in a certain way, or we judge what's happening, all of these things, or those old griefs, process your emotions, but then let it go, because this is an opportunity for you to actually discover who you are.
Right. And that is the gift of this time, is the pressure to self-actualize, and the pressure to rely on this inner wisdom, and really discovering that there's something more available for each of us now. And it's a huge opportunity. And I think that getting caught up in any of the drama, and how we're going to sort through it. And I love what you said about, the freedom, but the grounded also. It's like the energy is changing. And so being flexible with how are you going to shift? How are you going to be free, but be grounded, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a beautiful dynamic that's happening. And it's an opportunity. And I think that, for those of us who've been on a spiritual path for a really long time, like we're so excited to see the opportunity. And yet I know, and I've seen a lot of people who, if they haven't been on a spiritual path, then there's just a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
A lot of fear, a lot of chaos, and a lot of addictions coming to the forefront to deal with what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and that's really important because if you look at the scale of consciousness, addictions or desire, which is where you have craving in your emotional body. So you're wasting your energy, your power center, craving. Oh, I want this, or why did I fail at that? Or where's my soulmate? Or I need a bigger house, or I need a title, or whatever it is you were told or thought, right? That craving. And then it gets in a loop, disappointment. It's never enough. And that's what we're seeing, like you said before, the exposure of this greed mentality or this mentality of, for me. And it's not that you can't have anything, right? It's line up with what you want. So I've been on the internet for 15 years and I've had businesses for 35 years. And I used to work all the time and I used to chase everything. And I was constantly thinking and planning and what else can I do? And I've got to be the best. And, that idea of just like, where's the client? Even using my spiritual tools to go, where's the client? Where's the client? Stay focused, stay go. Now I refuse to do any of that stuff. And I get in the flow and I trust what's going to come. And sometimes there's not much. And sometimes there's something delightful. And I'm much more concerned with who am I being in the moment, not just am I being a kind and loving person, but am I listening to myself? Am I finding my joy? Am I doing this in the way that is supporting me the most, regardless of what anyone thinks?
Yeah. And I think that is such a big lesson is like, after you've chased and gotten and had success and then realize like, ooh, wow, I'm burned out. Ooh, that didn't feel good. Or, it's all about the process and all about the joy of being in the creative flow and being true to who you are. And, for projectors, a big thing is, we have to slow down. And, projectors are not part of the generator world. And so, for a projector to just unplug and be like in the slowdown so they can navigate life in their own frequency, it's really a gift. It's a gift that you give yourself and it's a gift that you give the world because the projectors are actually, and I don't know if you know this, but the projectors are actually the leaders. 2027, there's a shift to projector leadership.
Yeah.
And the manifestors were the leaders, the just do it mentality, which we're all conditioned by. Just do it, go out there, make it happen, do it. And it works for a small percent of the population, but everyone else gets in the grind. Even generators aren't supposed to use that strategy. So the manifestors are their aura type is retiring. And the projectors are moving into the leadership position 2027. And so part of that is like the leadership of the slow down model, which is like slow down, chillax, let life be more flow, like that whole grind and 9 to 5 and keeping everybody in that slave driven workforce mentality is going out, not just going out of style, but going out of our energy grid. Like we literally are not going to be able to sustain that. And so it is that beautiful flow of the projector, which is really just to unplug and do less. Like projector, when they're on their mark, they can take like a 10-hour day and do it in 2 hours when they're relaxed and rested and like in their joy and they're not frigging, in the hustle and the grind, so.
Yeah. Well, I relate. You're a projector too. And if I think a lot of your clients are, I would think, right? A lot of healer, light worker type of people like that.
Yeah.
I know Chris is not a projector, but you were cracking me up. He was like this slow, these different like simple lifestyle or slow food market, these kinds of things that have come up. Well, it's very appealing, especially to Chris after his seizure. And he keeps trying to come up with a book title. And we're like, nobody would buy that, right? It's like slow business. No, nobody wants to build their business slow, right? Marketing wise, it doesn't make any sense,
Oh, right. Exactly. There's a great book called The Slow Down Diet.
Ah, that's a good one.
Slow down diet, which is like basically, just that, losing weight is based on like enjoying your food, slowing down, like getting out of the, that mentality. So, but I do think that's the right the chillax, maybe like the chillax business or something. I don't know. But that is exactly the right mentality. And I think that, it also goes to this notion of people just wanting to unplug from the systems we've been in, which, we're seeing that, with people who want to do like van lifestyle, or like, all kinds of different lifestyles that people want to live now, because it's really about like not feeling comfortable in that grind,
Yeah.
And so I like that idea, Chris. I think it's going to be a great book.
Yeah, it's funny, but we've mastered the slow lifestyle. We've lived in Mexico for 5 years, and if you don't slow down, you're going to go crazy and pull your hair out. Um, if you do, you love it because there's this warmth and this charm. But also, for his health reasons and stuff, I had to stop this and stop that, and then I realized, oh, this isn't serving me either. Right. And so it's funny, just at the beginning of January, we both got sick. I still don't know exactly what it was, but it was about 3 weeks. And I don't get sick. I don't want to slow down. I had all these soul readings for the beginning of the year and all these different things scheduled. And I was like, okay, well, give me 2 days, and I'd move a few appointments back, and okay, give me 2 days. And finally I went, I give in, and I just moved everything back a week or two. And there were days sometimes I would just get back in bed and lay there for 5 hours and just stare, look at the coconut trees, and just whatever I needed. And it was so beneficial, not just from, oh, I rested my physical body, because I didn't do it from guilt. I let go of it, and I wasn't like, oh, I should be doing something else. I was just like, oh, that was interesting. And then just, I don't know, last week, everything turned around and started going boom, 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 And I was like, oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is also the one gift about COVID, is that people at least like stay home when they're sick, It's like we used to like work through sickness. It was like, come on, people would be like sick wandering around. I mean, I do really appreciate like people not going out when they're sick. I mean, it's like, we could not slow down.
Yeah.
And so, what I mean is forced this slowdown. It forced it for people that are still in a busy work life. This at least forced them to slow down a bit and to not go out when you're sick. Let yourself, it's your body's like really just like slow it down, get in bed, chill out. And really ultimately those are the most nourishing and productive times, because you're connected, you can unplug and connect in to higher source, and I think that is what many people are starting to realize. I think it's
the
really
conditioning,
happening.
right? This
Yes.
last 400 years of, you can't, especially in the US, again, living in other countries, you get to see that there is a different mentality. But in the US, it's like, you can't take a day off because Joe won't, and the other person will pass you up and they'll get the early bird. And, I was raised in the Midwest with the, Scandinavian and German work hard and all that kind of stuff. And so it's just that perpetuation of it. And now with like, boy, if people don't understand you, right? And you start listening to your own design. Well, tell us a little bit more about the projector and how that and why that's going to become a big deal. I like it because it's not that like I have that leadership kind of personality already and I'm doing stuff, but I like the idea that the value system has to change to look to people like us as the leaders to unplug from that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 4 different aura types. The projectors are about 20% of the population. The manifestors are about 8 to 9%. And then the generators make up about 70% with manifesting generators. And then there's reflector, that's 1% of the population. And so we know that the generator, 70% of the fuel, is the working force of, humanity. They have regenerative life force energy. So they are here to work. But the problem is that regenerative life force energy was used out of guilt and out of, forcing and out of fear. So all the generators are sort of like this, they've been enslaved in work that they don't love. And so, and then what happens to them is they are just this built up frustration doing things that they don't love, right? So the manifestors they have a really intense aura that pushes things out of the way, and they are the initiators. So the whole motto of just do it and make something happen is how manifestors created and ruled the world for the last 400 years. And they conditioned the entire planet of that, go out there and force something to happen. And so the interesting shift is going to the projector, which is, the projector is sort of like the archetype of the wise woman on the hill who has like guidance and wisdom. They're like leading by directing. So they're leading by directing. But what the beautiful thing is, the manifestors were the lone wolves, so they could do it all on their own. But projectors, they are not. They have to use generators, and they have to use other people in order to manifest. Not use, but there's a collaboration. So we're shifting from, people being sort of like that lone, make it happen, go out there and compete and have to thrive, to this more sense of, we have to work together as a team. And the generators have to feel really satisfied. They have to feel really good doing what they're doing. And then their energy is, then, and I mean, it's not saying also that they want to use all their energy for work, that's also for kids, for families, for life, for living, for, but it's about them doing what they're satisfied doing. And so projectors are sort of the ones to direct the energy and to be wise to how people should live and how the energy should be directed. And so there's a shift in how leaders are going to have to handle the dynamic. So it's going to be more about delegating and seeing the individual gifts and strengths of, the individual in your team, rather than, pitting people against each other. So it's going to be, more of that collaborative energy. And so the projector is and the main thing also about projectors is, for the most part, they're a brand new aura. They came on the planet pretty recently, and they have not been recognized. So, the whole projectors have to be invited before they can do anything, is a form of recognition. So it's a recognition of your greatness, your genius, your gifts, your skills, before you get turned on to your life purpose. So it's like a recognition has to happen first. So most projectors are out there hustling to be like generators, hustling to get recognized, hustling to make something happen, pushing, living out what they believed was the tools to manifest. And most projectors are seriously burned out and have not been recognized their whole life for their gifts. Now, a lot like a lot of people who have been on a spiritual path, they're going to kind of learn intuitively that they needed to kind of slow down and feel, they learned intuitively. I didn't learn that at all intuitively. Like I was so like just going for it, and just like burned out and just like not figuring this out until I found out I was a projector. And then everything, it was pretty radical for me. Everything like really radically shifted. So I know for a lot of projectors, they're struggling, and they don't understand why. And the recognition is starting to happen on a collective, but you're talking about 5 more years, 2027. And then from there, it's another 411-year cycle. So, we might see it in our lifetime and we might not, so it's going to take time. But it doesn't necessarily take that long for your life. Like for those people just newly coming to human design or newly finding out their projector, it's pretty radically shifting of how you operate and your dynamic. So it's, to me, that shift is really for all the projectors out there that are like, why doesn't it work for me? Why don't I, have this kind of result? It's very freeing to know that there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect as you are, and learning a couple key factors of, waiting for recognition, waiting for invitation, and not putting your ideas or insights onto anybody who didn't ask for it directly, because we love to do that because we have so much great insights.
That's right. I know all this fabulous stuff. Why don't you want to hear what I have to say?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and they're all very interesting because you have, I forget, a not self theme. Is that what you call it?
Right. Yeah. So when you're operating correctly, you're in your signature, and the signature for projector is success. So we are meant to be in success. And so that signature is when you're living correctly as yourself. And so if you're not, we call that your not self theme, and projectors are bitter. Why is it working better for them? Why am I not getting the kind of results that manifesting generator? They just did this, and they have 1 million views on YouTube. Like, like why?
Yeah.
And so they get bitter, and then the generator's not self theme is frustration. They're working, but they're just frustrated. Like, oh, I don't like this job. They're frustrated, and they're initiating, and their not self theme is frustration. And manifestors is anger. So if you know any manifestors that, oftentimes manifestors, they've imploded, meaning they are so concerned with what other people think that they have lost their manifestation skills. And then they're with some of the most angry people on the planet. And then our reflectors, who are here to taste and sample and be like the unicorns and reflect the health of their environment, they're disappointed, is they're not self-theme, because they're disappointed with humanity, really, in general. Like, what's going on?
They're having a feast right now, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So everyone has sort of like a not self-theme that they can kind of lean into, like, oh, I sense I'm feeling into my not self. And the idea is, once you start living more your inner authority, which is based on your own authority, and there are like 8 different types of inner authorities that people can learn. And that's your GPS system, I like to call it, which is like you plug it in your car, you turn it on, and it's your GPS to your purpose, your right business, this type of thing. And that is what guides you to your signature theme and out of your not self theme. So that's like kind of the basis of how that operates.
Yeah. So you're talking about 5 years or more, 5 or 6 years until we hit the supposed beginning of this. And then there's 400 years for it to become.
Right.
And so like, I want to be a part of that. That's why I'm here. I'm like, damn, yeah, I made it. Okay, let's do this. So as we're watching the global breakdown and we're having our interpersonal breakdowns of not knowing who we are or what we want to do, or encountering these things, these not self, like these old incomplete baggage, right, that we're carrying around, what else is happening, or how are other things of learning to say, okay, what's the real me? What's inside? What's the best way for me to be in this moment?
Yeah. So, well, obviously there's so many amazing spiritual tools, and all of them, I think, support and help. One of the language that human design uses is this sense of passenger consciousness, which is being able to witness. So it's putting what human design is also saying is we are evolving out of the mind. The mind was the leader, and it brought us to where we are now. And now the mind has kind of outlived its usefulness, and so it's being asked to take the back seat. So it's not supposed to rule your life. It's not supposed to tell you what to do. It's not supposed to tell you, oh, you're going to make this decision, or you need this or you need that. It's supposed to witness and sit back and kind of, watch things moving. And then what you move into is this vehicle intelligence, right? So there's a greater intelligence in the vehicle, which we all know that we scientists really haven't even been able to map out the brain completely, or we haven't been able to really figure out the genius and of the vehicle, the birthing of the babies, the pumping of the blood. Like we've come a long way. I mean, don't get me wrong, but the idea of human design is that there is an intelligence that is greater than the mind. But we're so attached to thinking and the mind, and we're so addicted to the way our thoughts are moving, that it takes time and patience and practice to witness the life. And so as we're seeing the breakdown, the idea is that we're in a neutrality and we're witnessing, and we let the vehicle kind of run the ship, and trust in your own inner authority, your inner knowing, and let the vehicle like guide the life, and turn and grab some popcorn. Oh, that's happening now. Oh, pandemic. Oh, craziness. Oh, riots, whatever's going on. You're kind of like watching the movie, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, and it is so like that. I was speaking to a friend yesterday who's moving out of California, and everywhere, depending where you live on the planet, right? You're inside of a different type of environment. But I said to him, look at who you are compared to 5 years ago and what your life became. So 5 years ago, a lot of stuff fell apart, that he had worked towards for 8 years. And it was such a huge implosion. It was such a strange thing. And, then a couple of years of just like, what is going on? And who am I, And now, and then it's, started to try this, try that, find this. And now he's just like, wow, getting his stride, being so much more authentic with who he is, not chasing a lot of that ego stuff anymore. So the breakdowns everywhere, and our inner breakdowns. So, but the ease comes from that self-acceptance, right? Like you said, like witnessing without needing to control, and still being able to trust and enjoy from your own unique perspective.
Right. That's exactly it. That's it. I mean, it's really true. I think that there's the mind likes to grab hold of something that's not working, or it likes to grab hold to tell you what to do, what you're doing wrong, what you need to do better, where you need to go, and so, and it causes a lot of chaos. I mean, really, all the chaos, if you could really break it down to the mind, all the chaos, the pain, the anxiety, and so, and so but the mind has its value. I mean, it's obviously has its value, and it needs to be used, but just using it correctly. And watching the life go through its changes and being in the joy of it, because really the mind is the only thing that isn't enjoying like just the frigging crazy beauty of all the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, whether you're living in, wherever you're living. I mean, I've had times in my life when I've been the most broke and I've been the happiest, like just the happiest of my life, traveling and doing whatever. And so, it really is about enjoying the ride, the ride. But the moving of the California. So did he move out of California?
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Arizona.
Ooh, good for him. We want to move. It's definitely something we're going to move at some point. I like where we are, but California doesn't have
it's not California anymore. I loved it when I lived there. And if I lived in the US, I would be there.
Yeah.
And but now it's like, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Things have really changed. You talk about changes, like conservative means liberal, and this means that, and just like it boggles my mind. And I just sit over here with my coconuts and my beach and my iguanas and go, oh wow, look at that.
Nuts. Yeah. I know, that's why I wrote down your city. I'm like, I don't think I could get Davidian to move to Mexico, but man, for me, I mean, I would love it.
Yeah, it's quite surprising. Like I said, I didn't expect to fall in love with it. I didn't expect to stay this long, and I certainly didn't expect to buy a house or anything. But when you find something, that's the magic, right? Of wandering and
Yeah.
moving. Everything
Yeah.
broke down, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So we were like, "Okay, well, the kids are in college near my parents, and let's get rid of everything and start traveling." And
Love
instead
it.
of going 200 different places, we stayed and started moving around this area, and things opened, and you don't see things that are right there.
Yep. Yep.
It was like, oh, I have to get back to Egypt so I can do my retreats again. I have to get back to Egypt. I was one of those people who was like staring at this door when all these other doors were open.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, there's pyramids everywhere. There's shaman and jaguar, everything's coming. What? Oh, and finding something. I came down here when I was in college, for God's sakes, and went to Chichen Itza, but I was just like, oh, that's cool. And then I left. And
Right.
now I have this whole other view of like the Mayan, and all that stuff just feeds me in a different way. So, well, can you give us a little more about 5 years, 10 years, like moving? Definitely you got to discover more about who you are in that not self, and what's your optimal way of operating, and what else globally.
Yeah. So globally, the shifts are going to be into a new way of knowing what is truth, right? So the other aspect is the way, and I talked about this a little bit, but I talked about what we came from. So what we came from is this sense of how logic operates, which is A plus B equals C. And over time, there's you study science and you learn like over time how things work and cycles. And the new way of knowing, which is meaning that the aura mechanics are going to support this way of knowing, is this sense of I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and then boom, there's a knowing. You don't know how you know, and you don't have to prove what you know. You
Mm.
just have to know that that is the knowing for you. And that's an entirely different way that we're going to be operating as a whole collective. And so that process is about when you're looking to the world and you're trying to figure out what's going on, you're trying to logically understand things. The way to really embody that is to be comfortable in the not knowing. Be comfortable in the I don't know, because that's really hard for people. It's like we have to like create these stories of like, well, what exactly did happen, and what are these people doing, and why is that person doing this, and and then the conspiracies come. And I'm not saying that some of the conspiracies aren't right or this or that. I'm not even going to say any of that, but most people just don't know. And I would say even people in the know probably don't know. So the point.
Earlier, you said something about the truth. Like, I don't know if we can get a full grasp on the truth. And it made me think of a Rumi poem where he says, you can't know a truth until you complete knowing the truth that you're in right now. And once you know that truth, the next one begins to reveal itself. But you never know it all. You never know the truth, because there's always the next level that you couldn't understand. It's like, do calculus, but you don't know addition. It's just, you can't do it.
Yeah. And so people are so worried to figure out what's going on and figured things out that they attach to ideas, beliefs, knowledge that they think is truth, and then they hold on to it, and they're always trying to prove their point, prove that they know their truth. And the idea here is to like let go of that and let go of the truth that you think you know, and let yourself sit back in the you know, mystery, in the curiosity, in the being. And then that's when the knowing can happen. And
Mm.
knowing is very personal. And knowing truth is very much about your own truth. What is true for you. And that's the only thing that you really need to rely on, is your own truth. And within that process, there's a lot of, you know, being willing to surrender to the discomfort.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, change and uncertainty and walking. And I feel years ago, I realized, wow, working for myself for so long, going through ups and downs of all kinds, has really made me very fluid. And I can't tend to be kind of fluid anyway, but I see that as a strength compared to somebody who maybe has always got a paycheck, right? Or can only see, what do I do if someone else doesn't pay me, or tell me what to do? That idea, like you said, of, well, the church should tell me what to do, and my family should tell me what to value, and my friends should tell me whether I look good in this dress, and and
Yeah.
all of that. And that's definitely what we've been raised to do. That's unplugging from the matrix, so to speak, of stop connecting to what other people think and their opinions, and look for within. And we've all been, especially in the last 400 years, right? If you think about that energy all being present, we've all been beheaded and burned at the stake and criticized and ridiculed and outcast and who knows what, for being unique, different, or ourselves. So it does trigger something.
Yeah. I mean, having your own ideas in the past was grounds for jail or beheading or burning at the stake. Or so the fact that we are going to be moving into a time when that is what is will be revered. And it's hard to imagine, but we can already get a sense because people are already not knowing, there's already not one thing that you can trust. It's already happening. So you can see the breakdown on every level. Like there's no logic. Like logic has left the building, so like we don't know what's going on, right? And so like individual expression, new ideas are what people are going to be looking for.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to me.
It is
That's
very,
exciting.
very exciting. Yeah. And it's licensed to be creative, right? It's a freedom to be creative. And that's not something that in most systems has been allowed. Actually, it's been taken away. I was so shocked when my kids were in school and they went into junior high. And I was like, oh, good. There's art, there's music, there's this, there's that. And they were told they could take one. They had to pick out of all of that stuff one. I'm like, what? Well, if you want to do music, you can't do art. If you want to do, and it's like, oh my gosh, the idea that you're just take away that. So yeah, it's nice though to think that we are growing up, but there is that inner habit that people have of deferring to an outside authority.
That's it. Yep, that's it. And I think that's going to get a lot more painful for people. And it's going to be a lot harder for people who are used to doing that, who are used to, giving their power over, their freedom over, or their decision making. Or so that's going to be confusing for many, many people, and I think that is the journey, is reclaiming where you've given over your power, where you've given over your decision making, and discovering how to make decisions for yourself based on yourself, and not letting anyone take that sovereign power from you. And that's the gift, that's the gift of really honoring it and acknowledging the individual, is empowering each and every person to their life, and knowing that like, no, you actually gave that power away. You have that to take back.
Yeah. I know, years ago, being a people pleaser most of my life, years ago when I started to so-called, that's what I call it now. I didn't know what I called it back then. What the hell, what was going on? But I had this deep ingrained fear. I wanted everyone to like me, and afraid if I spoke up or did something that they didn't like, it would, cause a problem. And but the deeper part of it being um, fear of that retribution, fear of being alone, fear of not surviving, because that's been ingrained in us. You have to belong to the village. And there was a time, if you were outcast from the village, you definitely died in the forest alone, right?
Right.
And the individuality of creativity, we're all MacGyvers, so to speak, right? There's always some way to create around us and within us. And if you think of it, hey, I get to be me. What the hell does that mean? Have you really ever felt you could be me? Or maybe when you were a kid, you felt like there was a time, right, for a while that you got to be you. So beautiful. Well, let me put the slides up. I forgot to show you. This is how, tell us about your free design chart people can get.
Yeah. So if you don't know which aura type you are, and you are curious, so yeah, right on the website, it's just get your free chart. And then we send a bunch of videos to help support your journey on that. So anyone who's not sure if you're a projector or not, you got to find out.
I highly recommend it because, a lot of us projectors have been chasing and running and acting like generators and getting exhausted and wondering why we work so hard.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have your Facebook group and people can get on there.
Yeah, spiritualized entrepreneurs awakening to their next level. And that's a place where you can come and discuss, or, we'll answer questions and help you as you're trying to discover your design. And, obviously the spiritual journey as well as your human design journey. And we really talk about both those things and how to integrate them and utilize all those tools that but trying to figure out how to utilize it for your own uniqueness. So that's really what we do there.
Yeah. And you see these little designs behind Raquel, that's your chart and Davidian's chart, right? Human design chart.
Yeah.
So they're so interesting. So you go there, you get your free chart, and then if you want to hire Raquel to help you figure out what that means or to implement it or any other things that you do there. And well, great. So what do you want to leave us with?
I guess what I would leave everyone with is that this is really an exciting time, even though it looks like a breakdown. And it looks like things are really, really shifting. It's all part of the aura mechanics. So it's part of what humanity is awakening towards. And the tool really does help. It really does help to understand who you are and your uniqueness. And it really does help to sit back and just allow this time to be what it is, because there's magic in change, even though it's uncomfortable. There's magic in it. So
and it's easier than you thought because you can be a witness and a passenger.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, sweetie. I always get so many deep insights and I love it. It's a system that, like you did, for you, like, wow, when I learned about being a projector and a few of the other things you showed me in my chart, I would return to that, as I was applying my old patterns to my new thing. I was like, oh, I'm doing it in a new way, but I'm doing it the old way,
Right. That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah, it really helps. Yeah.
Well, thank you, honey. I appreciate it. I love you. Big hugs. Take care.
Love you too.
Everybody, make sure you go visit Raquel and you discover this. I think, whatever you resonate with, there's systems out there. I've become enamored with astrology and some other things and I used to not look at it at all. But it's not that you hand your power away to any of these, right? But if they reveal, if they are a game changer, like Raquel said, if they suddenly give you an insight into yourself, or why have I been beating my head against the wall, or why does it feel like I'm going in circles, or why does it feel like they're getting ahead and I'm not? It's that unplugging from what we've been told we were supposed to be. And since 2022 is a bunch of twos, and it's a lot about unity, this is about reuniting with who we are and discovering that. And that's going to make this next crazy ride probably could be potentially more enlightening, more enjoyable than any other thing you've lived before in your life, because you're more awakened and more aligned with yourself. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you. I know several people were over here saying hi and asking questions. And hi, Brigitte and Sandra and Kim and Alan and Lucy and Destine. And we're so happy you all came. Please share this. Tell people, come back and watch it. And if you're watching the recording, there's links below to find Raquel. And if you come to nanakasha.com and get on the list, then we'll make sure that you get reminders. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel and click a little bell somewhere that will tell you, hey, we're live, or hey, we've posted a new video. And we're going to be doing a lot more fun things. We're always exploring what's the best way to realign you with your truth, with who you are, to free you from the past and from heavy burdens. And so you can be in that pure spiritual blueprint, who you were designed to be, creating from that instead of from the past. So thank you, everybody. Namaste. Have a beautiful night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.